Well, this is the Boston Sports Pod, the podcast that brings you all things Boston sports with Joe and Shawn. Today is May 4th, 2014. I'm Shawn Klein, and my co-host is Joe Danker. What's up, Joe?
What's up, Shawn?
So, that was a hell of a third period on Saturday, huh? How you feeling today?
I feel great. I have a leftover buzz from yesterday. It was just an amazing finish to the game. The game itself was painful, as I think you and I are both experiencing during the game, particularly that second period. But the ending of the game was fantastic. 4 goals in 5.5 minutes. Just
Was it
like
five and a half? I thought it was.
shot out of the blue. It's
I,
great.
I thought it was like more closer to 7 or 8. If you start thinking about that, the empty net goal.
Okay. Yep.
So,
Yeah. All right. 3 goals. Yeah. Something like that. You're right.
but 3 goals in like 5 minutes, and those were the more meaningful goals because those are the goals that are the go-ahead goal. I mean, the last was that was Lucic, right? Um,
Yep.
that got the empty netter. I mean, that sealed it, but uh, that was exciting. Yeah, the second period was brutal. That was
Well,
not the Bruins' best moment.
no, and everything that you were hoping wouldn't happen to the Bruins against the Canadians, like, happened in that second period. They lost their composure. Mazzaros took a terrible penalty, a roughing penalty that was just completely unnecessary,
Yeah, that was so
and
stupid.
it was that was my low point. And then if I follow it correctly, after that, Julian took a penalty for he was, I guess, screaming using foul language at the refs. So they assessed a bench minor penalty, which Thornton served. So that
I
was
was
on Julian.
okay.
Julian
I was
lost
trying
his
to.
cool.
I didn't remember. I couldn't figure out what was going on. I didn't know
Uh-huh.
what Thornton had done. So I was trying to figure that out. But so
Yeah, no,
that was on Julian.
yeah, Julian lost it. It was he admitted to it post game. So they had Thornton serve the penalty. Obviously, can't put the coach in the penalty box. Someone's got to serve it. So I guess Thornton is kind of the designated bench minor guy to serve the penalties. Um, and then after that, I forget which ones they scored on, but they scored two power play goals right in that stretch. And then Dougie Hamilton took a roughing, or I think it was a roughing penalty, right during the bench minor being served. So it was like 3 minor penalties in a row. They overlapped. There was 5-on-3. They didn't score on the 5-on-3, but a few seconds into the 5-on-4, when one of the penalties expired, boom, that's when Vanek tipped in a shot, I think, to make it 3-1. And at
Yeah.
that point, it just seemed like we were unraveling. Everything, we'd lost our discipline. Our coach had lost his discipline, and that's when things looked bleakest.
Now, so what do you think was going on with that? Do you think that was just the Habs kind of doing their thing and getting into the Bruins' head and kind of just getting under their skin and making them
Yeah.
frustrated? Do you think it was just their own lack of frustration because they had all these chances in game one and then in game two and they just couldn't push the puck into the net? Do you think it was more internal, or do you think it was more what the Habs were doing, or both?
I think it was. I think it was both. I think it was all of that, all wrapped up into one. I think it was frustrations from game one, having so many opportunities, and Carey Price playing a magnificent game, combined with all those opportunities in game one that they couldn't put home, which they should have. They had plenty of open nets, plenty of opportunities where Carey Price did not play a role, or he may have played a role in their head, trying to be too fine with their shots and just hitting the post or just missing the net. That piece was built up in them up till the second period of yesterday, and combined with how the Canadians play. The Canadians play, but I'm going to say it, they play dirty, Shawn. They really do. They play a dirty game. They're awesome on the power play. Okay, they're 4 of 9 on the power play so far in this series. That at least two of their goals yesterday were power play goals, and they know they're excellent on the power play. And they go out of their way. If you look at some of the replays that focus on this, they really do dive. Okay, I know it's been out there that the Canadian dive team, which, by the way, I want to get that T-shirt. I think it's awesome. The Canadian national dive team. But they really do. If you see some of the replays, if a Bruin puts a stick somewhere near the body of a Canadian player, he dives. I saw one where I forget the player on the Canadians, but he wasn't even touched by the stick. The stick sort of got in front of him, and he dove and he put his hand down as he knew he was. It was like an intentional dive. So they do that a lot, and they do dirty things. Subban is just as guilty of this. He's a great player. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to have him on the Bruins, but he would have to get this element out of his game. He did something. I think he cross-checked Chara, or someone who's bigger and tougher than he is. He was jawboning with him and stuck a cross-check into the chest of the Bruin player, and immediately turned tail and ran away.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man. You know that's what the Canadians' reputation is, and that's what they do. And that built up that frustration of the penalties and how they play. And the fact that they were down 3-1 in the second period, all built up, and I think that's what had them. That's what led to their meltdown. I think. What do you think? Think it was that too, or?
Yeah. I definitely see it as a mix. I mean, the Habs were definitely getting under their skin and doing the kind of things you were talking about, which I think normally wouldn't really affect the Bruins, but I think given their frustration in the last game and a half of having so many chances, 50 shots in the first game, and pucks rolling in front of the net that they just couldn't quite, just taking funny bounces and just unbelievable watching these games. Just how do they not get that one more goal? And they just and I'm sure that we were feeling the frustration. I'm sure they were feeling it even more. And then you start to press, you start to get too fine with your shots, and then the little things start to frustrate you. I mean, just think of your own life. I mean, if you're in a bad mood already, the little things can really send you over the top. If you're you're in a good mood, someone being obnoxious to you at the store isn't going to make you mad, or someone cutting you off, you'd be like, what a jerk. If you're in a bad mood already and they cut you off, I mean, that could send you into such a tizzy,
Totally. It's a little thing that sets you off. You have built up frustration, and boom, it could be a little thing that wouldn't bother you normally. Boom, it's like it's like a trigger, and then you go off. And I think that's kind of how it happened for the Bruins.
So the first game, what do you think was going on there? Do you think that was mainly just Price? I mean, he's a great goalie. I mean, so it's not like this came out of nowhere, but he certainly seemed to have one of his best games. Blocking as many shots as he has.
Yeah, Price was awesome, but there were half a dozen pucks that would go in or should have gone in or were so close to going in. That's what they call puck luck.
Yeah.
One, I think it was Soderberg rolled one that was rolled one towards an open goal. Price was out of position. I think sprawled across just outside his crease, and it was rolling into the net, and it suddenly turned like there was a force field on the net, and it turned away and rolled wide. Stuff like that. That happened several times during the game. So that's what they call puck luck. Now that has a way of balancing back out, going in your favor, which on Bergeron's game-tying goal yesterday, he shot one, just a sort of flip-it-on-net shot from the right circle, past towards the right boards, and he flipped it on net, and it skipped off the ice, I think, bounced off of Bouillon, the defenseman for the Canadians, and then dangled up right past Price for the third goal to tie it. So that right there was some puck luck karma coming back at the Bruins in their favor.
Yeah.
But Price was awesome, don't get me wrong, but there were plenty of times where we had him beat, where we just gripping the stick too tight, the puck just took some weird bounces, some weird rolls, and it didn't go in, and that can be frustrating as heck, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you think of Marchand? I sent you a text during the game yesterday.
You're over him, huh?
I'm over him. Like, he just seems to be, he's turning the puck over in dangerous, a couple times in these last two games. He's turned the puck over, and I think at least one led to a goal. Have also in the Detroit game, in the Detroit series, did the same thing. He's often in the mix of penalties and stuff like that, or just messing around in ways that aren't really productive to get the game moving forward, and then he's not scoring, and I mean that's so if you're doing those other things and scoring, then fine, but
exactly.
You're not making up for some of your bonehead plays, and you're just getting penalties and not doing anything. I'm kind kind of over the little ball of hate.
Yeah, here's the thing. I agree with all of that, and everything you said is right. And he had a terrible play, which led to, I believe, it was either the second or third Canadian goal yesterday. Yeah, it was the second one where he was carrying the puck up ice. This is one of the turnovers you referenced. He's carrying the puck up ice. He's in the neutral zone. And what the Bruins do is, at that point, if you're challenged by an opposing player, you just dump it in. And one of the strengths of the Bruins team is they're good on the forecheck. Dump it in, let your forwards go get it. Let your big guys go fight for it in the corners, and more times than not, pull that puck out and get something going in the offensive zone. But Marchand tried to make a slick little move to create a 2-on-1, and he got burned. I forget who it was, Gallagher maybe, stripped him of the puck. And that led to Montreal time in the offensive zone and a Montreal goal directly led to it. So that turnover, those kind of turnovers, are costing the team. Like you said, if he's not scoring to make up for some of those bonehead plays, then they just are even more highlighting even more. But he made up for that stuff. He had a beautiful assist on the Dougie Hamilton goal, where he was driving. Bergeron set him up. He was driving crossed over into the Canadian zone, curled back, dished to Hamilton, bang, goal number 2. Hamilton zipped it past Carey Price. And then I think on the Bergeron goal, he also was instrumental. He took out Subban, put him out of position, physically took him out, and that cleared up space for Bergeron to flip it on net. So to say, if he's going to be playing like that, doing things like that, okay.
No, that's good. Yeah.
I'll take Marchand any day. But if he continues to make terrible errors leading to goals, take stupid penalties, then I'll be over the little ball of hate. But
yeah.
I haven't. After yesterday's after he made up for yesterday some of those mistakes with helping for the big victory, the comeback victory, I'll hold off on judging him as done in my book. I said to you back in the Detroit series, I think we should look to move him in the offseason.
Right.
I'm not retracting that statement either.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the playoffs go.
Well, yeah, because you don't have to necessarily be the goal scorer to be an important contributor. Obviously, right? I mean, the assists, creating the opportunities by putting all the players out of position and so on, or being, kind of red herring that attracts some of the defensemen, so opens up some spots and stuff. That's important too.
Right.
It's as important as goal scoring, because you need that to get the. Well, I don't know if it's as important as goal scoring, because ultimately you need the goal scoring to win, but you need those other players to do the assists to get those goals. So now, I was thinking about this. I was talking to another friend of mine the other day after the game 1, and then also seeing a little like what the Blackhawks do. Do you think the Bruins need like someone who's more? Well, I guess what we were hoping Sagan would have been, someone who isn't just going to dump the ball in and hope for the forecheck, but that could make something happen and go in. I mean, how many times do you see Kane do that? Like just go right through the defense and go up and score, or at least have some chances. The Bruins almost never do that, right? I mean, they just, that's not their game. I mean, I personally, just the style and sports in general, I like defensive teams much more than offensive style teams, and so that's one of the things I love about the Bruins is that they build from the defense forward, and I think it's more interesting kind of play for me rather than just offense. But I'd like to see at least some aspect of that added to the Bruins. I don't know if that would undermine.
You would?
What?
You would?
In some ways, yeah. Because I mean, sometimes it's frustrating when even just like watching the opportunistic aspects of the Habs that it's the Bruins maintaining possession, throwing it in. Get in the zone, but then nothing happens, and then it goes back down, back and forth a little bit. Bruins keeping up the pressure, and then the Habs just break away, boom, and can score quickly. And it just felt like the Bruins weren't able to do that until the third period. So maybe it was just short term, just feeling like, man, I just want someone to break through, and I mean eventually we did. So I take it by the way you responded to that you don't necessarily want like a a Patrick Kane type or something like that.
All right. The two things to it. You're right. All right. Let me amend that. I do want one. I do want a Sagan type player. I do want a Patrick Kane type player because he gives you that fast strike ability, that ability just to come out of nowhere, boom, like Kane's goal the other day. They're watching replays of it. Just so skilled, so smooth, beautiful with the puck, great shot, goal. And that led to them, that was their third goal. That was the game-winning goal, I believe, against the Wild. Would I love to have somebody like that? Yeah, the problem is, Shawn, I'm sorry. I would like to have somebody with that skill set. Problem is, when you're on the Bruins, now I'm not quite sure how it is the Blackhawks. The Blackhawks play a good, solid brand of hockey that's not dissimilar from the Bruins. But you have to accept something with that kind of player, and that's their lack of play in the defensive zone, okay? That didn't happen with Phil Kessel, okay? The last very talented offensive player that we had, he wouldn't play defense. Same with Sagan. Now, Sagan had some other reasons why we got rid of him, the off-ice activities of his lack of scoring in the playoffs last year, that kind of stuff. But Sagan was another one of those type of players. Now, Sagan went on to be an MVP candidate this year, scoring something like 82, 84 points, 36 goals, really had an excellent season. But you've got to accept the fact that they're not going to play defense.
Right.
The Bruins, everybody plays defense on the Bruins. Even the most gifted offensive player, David Krejci, is an excellent two-way player as well. He's great on face-well. He's very good on face-offs. He's become very good on the back check in the defensive zone. So even again, if the Bruins are willing to accept a player that at least does some defensive work, but still has that great offensive touch like a Patrick Kane, like a Steve Stamkos, then yes, I want that player. But the Bruins won't accept someone who doesn't play defense. So,
Right.
Yes, I would love to get a guy who could play somewhat of a two-way game, but has that skill set to turn around a game just like Patrick Kane can do. But I don't think the Bruins will ever get a guy a guy won't work in the Bruins who just plays offense and is irresponsible in the defensive zone.
Yeah. Well, as long as you have Claude.
Also, Shawn,
Yeah.
one more thing though, the Bruins, as you saw yesterday, can score in bunches real quick. Number one. Number two, they were second or third in the league in goals scored this year. So it's not a lack of goal scoring. They have a broad across the team from the defensive end across three lines of forwards. They score goals, broad-based goal scoring, broad-based offense across the team. And they were second or third in the league. So there's not a problem with them. Now, there have been in the past with the Bruins, their inability to, put in a lot of goals in the net, a lot of pucks in the net. But as of right now, offense is not a problem. That's what made the Bruins so damn good this year, is they had their stellar defense, Chara, Rask, Boychuk, Seidenberg for a portion of the year.
Mm-hmm.
But they also had a great offensive output as well. So, as currently constituted, we don't need that guy. I'd like to see him if he can play a little bit of two ways.
You think Seidenberg's coming back?
No.
No.
Okay. If we go to the finals, yes. The Stanley Cup finals, yes. And if we're down 3-1 in either this round or next, well, no, it wouldn't be this round. If we're down next round, we may put him out there just as a Hail Mary type pass. But we don't want to risk that guy's. He's an older guy. There's not too many years left in his playing career, but wouldn't want to risk him for the next couple of years by putting him out there too soon.
So now we head off to Montreal Tuesday, right? Tuesday is the next is game 2.
What do you think's going to happen, Shawn? How do you think it's going to go?
I don't have a clue. I don't know. I mean, because
yesterday was a momentum shifter, dude.
Absolutely. I mean, I think if we had lost
Series is over. Put a nail in the coffin. We just took it over. Momentum is all on our side.
I can't believe you just said that.
4 games to 1, baby.
I can't believe you just said that.
I know, right?
Momentum is key in a game. I'm not sure momentum carries game to game in sport, especially when you're going from Saturday to Tuesday and you're traveling. I mean, it's definitely better than the reverse, right? Because I do think not so much that, because it's not so much that that the Canadians would have had momentum. I think it's just the Bruins would have been so demoralized from having lost two
Totally.
at home and just the way that now game one is sort of a toss up, right? I mean, you go to two overtimes, and at that point, it's it's almost random, right? That
Yep.
someone's gonna make a mistake because you're just exhausted at that point.
Right.
But I mean, the way this game looked in after two periods on Saturday was just that would have been a demoralizing loss, and I
Yeah.
think that could have just really sent them just on a tailspin. So obviously, not having that, I think, puts the Bruins in a better position. But so part of the question then is, do the Canadians feel demoralized from that loss, or do they feel like, well,
Yes,
look, okay,
they do. They are crushed.
you think so?
I'm exaggerating, but
Okay. Well, because I feel like
but
they could probably they could walk away. Look, we stole one game. That's pretty much what you want to do in a 7-game series when you're playing. On the other, when you don't have home ice, you want to go into the other person's house and steal at least one game. So do they feel like they could have stolen two? Absolutely. But and then just the fact that it came so, just boom, 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 and then the game just they just couldn't do anything at the end of that game. In the third period, they were useless. That yeah, I can see them being a little bit demoralized, but I don't see them being as demoralized as if the Bruins had lost. So I think it's more even going into game three, and I think maybe the Bruins will have some advantage in terms of thinking, okay, look, it took us a while, but we can get through. We can get through to Price. We can get in there. And they got 2 games of tape to look at. Because, I mean, one of the things that I thought the Canadians were doing a fantastic job was they were just blocking shots. I mean, they're just clogging the holes or whatever you want to call it. That they just you couldn't get in there, or you didn't get the rebound shots, and that figuring. I think Claude, whatever is he's defensive minded coach. I think he's going to be looking that over, and they're going to find ways to change things up to combat that. Now, the Canadians coach is good too. They'll figure some things out too. But so it's just that chess match. But it does seem like the Bruins are a more dominant team. I mean, just looking at these 2 games in terms of statistics, in terms of I mean, I don't have them in front of me. But my sense, at least, was in terms of possession, in terms of shots, in terms of hits, in terms of face-offs, that Bruins had the advantage on all of those things. And if you continue to maintain those advantages through a 7-game series, it just seems like you're going to win, right? I mean, because the nice thing about 7-game series versus 1-game elimination like in the NFL is, in general, if you play better, luck is going to the flukiness and the luck and the chance, the puck luck that evens out over time. In any one game, it might not, and so the Patriots or whatever or in the NFL, I mean, something fluky can happen, you can lose the game, and then you're done. Whereas something fluky can happen in hockey, but you still got 6 more games, right? So until you get to Game 7, that's something fluky can happen there, and I mean, I hope we don't get to a Game 7. I hope we take care of this in 6, but I think it's going to go 7. Just has that feel,
I don't know if my heart can take it, Shawn. 7 games. Holy cow! I almost had a multiple heart attack situation yesterday during that game.
It was exciting. I mean, because I had a party I had to go to a friend of mine's. 2 of our friends, their kids were having their first communion, and so they had a little party in the afternoon. So we were going, and so. I was like, oh man, I hope the game, I don't want to be too late, and then it's 3-1, and I was all like bummed out, and then I was like, oh man, they're gonna come back and tie it up, and then we're gonna have, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna stay home from the party to watch the game, or am I gonna sit in the car and listen to it? Like, what am I gonna do? And then, so my wife went out to get the card, and it was 3-2, and I was like, oh, okay, we're in this, and then. I'm like, it's 3-3. I'm like, oh shit, it's gonna tie up, isn't it? It's it's gonna go to OT again, and then 4-3, and I just went wild, and Sammy got all excited, and then the empty netter, and then I was just ecstatic after that, just
cathartic.
Yeah.
I was whooping it up. I was scaring my family. I was shouting, yelling, and jumping up and down. It was awesome.
It was. Anything else on the Bruins?
Well, one more point about the momentum thing. Yeah, I agree with you. I do think that if they're well coached, which I think they are, their coach is going to present them with to try to, diminish the negative effect of blowing a game like that. He's going to Michel Therrien. He's going to paint the broad picture here. From that they did come out with a split from Boston, which is what they wanted to do. They're going home. It's now a 5-game series where I believe the Canadian 3 in the Canadians and 2 in Boston, 3 in Montreal, 2 in Boston. So they've got the home ice advantage. A lot of things are going their way. So if you're the coach, you focus on that, put that loss behind you, and roll into Game 3 with a renewed sense of confidence and stuff like that. So, and I think that will go a ways towards mitigating the momentum shift. But I hope not too much because I want to win.
Yeah, there's a lot of days between those games. I mean, I think it's, the evidence on momentum and how it affects sport is pretty widespread in both directions. Most, as far as I can tell, most seem to think that there really is no such thing as momentum, but some more newer research is showing that maybe there is some. But I still it feels to me like, okay, momentum in game because the emotions of it can carry over, but and you can just feel things happening. Just okay, something's shifting here. They're not playing well. They can't clear the puck. You know something bad's going to happen. The momentum's going the other way, and then if you do something positive, it shifts it. So I mean, in one way, momentum is just the narrative that you're telling about the game anyway. So it's not, is it real? But I mean, just having played games, you can just feel things sort of swinging your way or swinging away from you, and having to try to affect that. Game to game, I am
not so much. Huh?
Yeah, I'm skeptical about that. I don't think it can carry over because the emotion stops. It's a couple days later. It's you're not in the game anymore, and so it's a new start. It's a fresh start, and so it's I think a good coach, professional players with the right attitude. That's not gonna be the reason why if we go in and win. It's not going to be necessarily a carryover from that period, just from the emotional aspect of it. It might carry over because maybe we finally saw something that allowed us to break through, right? So you saw something in the X and O's, so to speak, that okay, if we attack them this way, then it's going to be effective, and that can carry over, sure, if the other team can't find a way to respond to it.
Well, on the last thing I want to say about what you just said is Carey Price. I think all of our goals are top shelf over his left shoulder. I'm not sure if that's I think it's his glove hand.
Yeah.
So that's a spot where I think we can really make. That's where Riley Smith's goal went. Bergeron's goal, although unintended, went there. Dougie Hamilton's goal went there. So keep an eye on that. We should keep trying to pepper that spot on him. So
good. Let's do it.
Yeah. Go
Peace.
Bees.
So, I'm still predicting going 7. What do you think?
Damn. I don't want to predict 7. I don't want it to go to 7, Shawn, just because I'd like to live a long life.
Yeah, no, me too. Yeah.
But, yeah, it's probably going to go 7. Yeah, these teams are tight. There's going to be more momentum shifts, whether in game or between games. Yeah, I'll say 7 as well, with the Bruins sneaking out an overtime winner in the Garden, and yeah.
All right. So, anything else in the Bruins?
No, it was such an awesome game. I'm still on such a high from that, so it was awesome. It was just great hockey game.
So now shifting then to the Sox.
Talk about the Red Sox, Shawn. Not as a cheerful situation as the Bruins, but no, yeah, they've some good things are happening lately.
Yeah, I mean they've been struggling. I mean they're 15-6, and that's not good. It's not terrible, but they haven't been. I don't think they've been 500. They certainly haven't been above 500. They might have hit 500 at least for some
early
period.
On, yeah, but not recently. Yeah.
So, but the offense has picked up in the last two games, but they have 2 grand slams,
Yep.
a bunch of home runs. I mean,
Yep.
Lester was dominant yesterday, 15 strikeouts.
Was awesome, wasn't he? Holy cow!
And I mean, I didn't get to watch the game, but I was watching a bunch of the highlights, and I mean, it was just dominant performance, and it's nice to see the offense picking up. So, are you worried? I mean, I know we talked on the other on the Sports Ethicist podcast. We were talking about the Red Sox and how we felt. We're in a grace year, and as long as they're competitive, we're okay with it. I mean, are you still in that camp? Or are you starting to shift towards we need to do something?
Good question. I'm starting to shift. Yeah, a little bit. When I say I'm okay and content if they're competitive, that doesn't mean being 3 games out of first place, or 2 games right now. But it doesn't mean playing below 500 ball.
Right.
I want them to be, competitive for a playoff position throughout the year. So the past 2 games have prior to the past 2 games, prior to the past 2 games, I was starting to get like, we got to do something. Things are not starting to happen. I mean, it's the beginning of May at this point. We're 1/6 of the way through the season. You can't fall too far behind, because when you do, then you got to play awesome baseball the rest of the way. So it was starting to get to that point. Now, we had Buchholz throw an excellent game 2 days ago. One of the best things that could have happened was to see Buchholz start getting his velocity back up there, and he did. He started to throw to low to mid 90s again with his fastball, which is huge for him, because if we look back to his first few starts, he was barely hitting 90 with his fastball. So his arm strength is coming back, and it's showing in the results. So now it was Toronto, which our pitchers tend to have a pretty good record against Toronto, pretty good outings against Toronto.
Who doesn't?
But to see our pitchers, the Red Sox pitchers.
I'm saying who doesn't have good outings against Toronto?
Oh, right, right. So, hey, no better way to get your confidence up, though, right? I don't care who it is, it's a Major League team. So Buchholz pitching better and getting his velocity up, and then Lester yesterday. If we can get those guys on a good run of excellent outings, and Lackey continues to impress. He had 1 or 2 stinkers this year, but his last outing or 2 have been excellent again. He seems to be on the same pace he was last year, throwing good almost every time out. So 1, 2, 3, those guys. I feel good about that, and I feel real good about the offense coming along. So I like things going forward. I like the recent developments.
Yeah, no, I definitely happy about that. I mean, I am still concerned starting pitching wise. The bullpen seems pretty solid. Right, obviously Koji.
Does Yui Hara worry you lately?
He's given up, some hits. I mean, it's. I mean, he hasn't, blown anything.
No.
But he's making it a little bit more interesting. Whereas, I mean, I remember a couple weeks ago I sent you the text going, Did someone just get a hit off Koji? Like, I don't know. It's just weird. I don't know what that feels like.
Weird occurrence.
Yeah, but now it's becoming a little bit more regular. And I mean, last night or yesterday's game, I mean, it wasn't a save situation, and they were up by a lot. So I'm sure that's you pitched a little bit differently. Your mindset might be a little.
Fair, yeah.
I would imagine that you'd pitch it a little bit differently, knowing that you're up by a decent amount.
Right.
But
pitch the contact.
Yeah. So, but I mean, a guy's not going to be unstoppable forever, right? I mean, so I'm not worried about Koji at this point. I mean,
Okay. Can I add something about that?
Of course.
I am a little worried about Koji, and not necessarily because of the results. He's given up a hit an inning on average. His strikeout numbers are terrific. His ERA is great. He's got 7 saves. He hasn't blown one. Yep, that's all there. But he went out a couple of weeks ago for a few days.
Yeah.
They rested him because of shoulder stiffness, shoulder discomfort. Okay. They brought him back pretty quickly. Okay, so you think that's past. Well, he's not a power pitcher, but all last year and the beginning of this year, he has 2 pitches. Fastball, which is not really, it's like an 89, 90, 88 mile an hour fastball, but it has great little late pop on it, so it's hard for the hitters to get a hold of it. and he's got that killer split finger. So those are his two pitches. Now, the split finger is as good as ever. Fastball's lost a couple miles an hour, and this is after his shoulder stiffness.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the hits are coming.
Do you think
so
Farrell?
I'm a little bit worried that he's still a little injured, and his fastball is taking its toll, and that's where the hits are coming from. If that continues, Koji is not going to be the lights out. I don't think Koji's going to be the lights out closer that we saw last year and the beginning of this year. I'm worried about that, I will admit.
No, I hear that. I mean, do you think Farrell uses him too much, like bringing him out in non-safe situations?
He's 38, 39 years old. He had pitched a ton of innings last year, and he shouldn't be bringing him out in. Well, another thing is, I want to go off on a tangent about this, Shawn. See how you feel, but the save situation, I don't care about. I don't care about a reliever's saves, his save numbers. What is it? If you have a 4-run lead or less, you're eligible for a save after a certain inning or whatever. I don't know exactly, but it's 4 runs or less.
I think it's less than that.
Bring in Koji when the game is on the line. Now, I'm not saying bring him in the 6th inning. There's a school of thought that says, a particular at-bat or a particular situation in the 5th, 6th, or 7th inning can decide the game. Yes. But Koji is a guy you want to use at the end of the game to just shut it down, close the door, okay? Save him for those situations. Don't care if it's a save, non-save, whatever. If it's tied in the 9th inning, bring him in if that's a crucial moment. Bring him in when you want your best shutdown guy to come in. Don't bring him in when it's 6-5 in the 9th inning. When it's 6-1, 6-0 in the 9th inning. That's overusing him. Save him for when you need your best shutdown reliever. What do you think?
Well, in general, I agree with you. I mean, I do think there's times where you got to bring him in just to get the action, depending on how many games in between those situations.
Yeah.
So, but there's been times where I'm like, why is he bringing Koji out? It's like he just closed last night, and now he's bringing him out again. This isn't really a save situation,
Nope.
And he doesn't need the time. So there's been times like that, and I do worry, given his age, given the mileage, that he could overuse him. I mean, you're not talking about Rivera here, who's just inhuman. But yeah, so I worry about that, but I also think Farrell's a smart guy, smarter than me or you in terms of baseball. So,
a little bit.
You hope he knows what he's doing. So I'm worried about the potential aspects of what you're talking about. I don't see that as actual yet. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
I do.
If I start to see. I mean the mileage coming off the MP, the miles per hour coming off the pitch. That's a little worrisome. But let's see if that's a consistent trend. I mean baseball's up and down. I mean baseball is it's a long windy path through the woods. And so it's going to have its ups and downs and players not playing as well, going through slumps. I mean, hitters go through slumps, pitchers can go through slumps too. So I'm okay with that. I'm more worried about the starting pitching. I'm Lackey. Surprisingly, isn't the guy who's worrying me. Lester, I wouldn't say I'm worried, but again, just sort of some consistency would be nice. In him, but I think he's done well. Bucky, except for the more recent outings, has been awful and scarily bad. It's nice to see he's starting to put something together. Dubron worries
me.
Yeah, big time. So I don't know. I don't think these 4 or 5 guys are going to be the 4 or 5 guys as we get to the end. I'm sure. I think there'll be someone else in the mix. I don't know if it's going to be one of the young guys that they pull up. I mean, they supposedly have a lot of guys. Yeah. So they can pull some guys up or use those guys as chips. I mean, I don't see them going out and doing anything unless there's some major injuries. I don't see them doing anything. By the trade deadline. I'd be shocked if they do anything like that. It doesn't seem like they really. I mean, when you look at the team, I mean, what do they really need? That doesn't strike me that there's any gaping holes here. That what's going on when I look. I mean, what they do seem to be missing a little bit from from last year is some of the speed, some of the
Ellsbury.
yeah, obviously.
And Victorino's been out.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of those pieces are coming back now. Some of the some of the injuries, guys who are injured and stuff, and so and they're kind of just finding their way, figuring things out. You know, the team's a little bit different than last year. I mean, it's basically the same team in a lot of ways, but just trying to figure it out a little bit. And the guy, you know, that they're just figuring some of the new pieces and how they're playing together, and just kind of getting things back to where they were a little bit. It takes a little bit of time. It's taking a little bit longer than I think anybody expected.
Yeah.
But they're working towards it. So I'm not. I'm still in the it's April May mode. As long as they're not, you know, doing too poorly. You know, and I'd like to see them get over 500, obviously. But I'm not panicking yet. I'm still kind of. I'm still okay. You know, I'd like.
Oh, yeah.
So. But we'll see, you know, and partly it's because no one else is really running away with it either. I mean, the Yankees are playing well, but you know, much better than anybody expected. You know, their starting pitching is much better than anybody expected it would be. But again, it's April, May. It's May. You know, it's May 4th. I'm not gonna freak out about that.
Absolutely not. No,
yeah.
no. We're only 2 games out, and the way we played. Being only 2 games out at this point is actually better than I would have expected. So, yeah, I'm not. There's no panic in me either, Shawn. So,
no.
Another month or 2 of this, and if we're around 500 or game or 2 below, then I'm actually very worried. And also, you know, we'll see how the other elements that you mentioned, the pitching and hitting, if they continue to be inconsistent, then we got some issues. Yeah. We got some problems.
And I guess I just feel this confidence that it's going to work its way out, and you know, as long as no one else is running away with it, then it's still a wide open division, and so I feel good about that. Patriots got the draft coming up.
Patriots, you want to talk some Pats, huh?
Yeah, we got the draft coming up.
What's going on out there in Patriot world right now?
I don't know. When is the draft? They screwed me up, and I'm moving it into
20th,
May.
I think.
Is it that late?
Which is very late for they've pushed the draft a week or 2 later each year or something like that.
Yeah, it's usually at the end of April, so they did push it back. I think it's. I thought it was earlier than that.
You might be right. I could look it up, but
that's what I'm trying to do.
I don't have my laptop in front of me.
Yeah, but anyway.
I don't even know where they're picking. I mean.
The 29th.
What are they, like the 29th?
Yeah.
What do we need? What do we need to pick for? You want defense or you want offense?
Well, that's what, you know, that's what I was going to ask you. I tend to go defense.
Me too.
I tend, you know, at 29, most of the top names are going to be gone. You think, I tend to think that either you go for best available, assuming that the guy who's, you know, best available, or the best available guys on your board are available at that point, and you don't have any good trade offers, then you know, go with the best available. And if that's you know, a player that you already have some depth at, I don't have a problem with that. I do think if they go offense, and they go offense in at that point, I think it's going to be a tight end.
Boom. I agree 100%. They're looking at Dustin Keller, by the way, recently.
Yeah, I saw they brought him in. Other than that, I think they're going to be looking at defensive line, maybe offensive, but defensive line, pass rusher, you know, those kind of meat and potato type players for depth reasons, and to begin thinking about replacing Will Fork down the line and Logan Mankins and stuff. I mean, those guys they're getting older. Those guys, their contracts are going to be coming up. You know, they're going to need to replace those guys. So I think they're going to be looking to do that. There's a lot of buzz about quarterback. I don't think they're going to take quarterback at 29. I think they'll.
What do you mean? They took Brady 199th 14 years ago. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know. Well, I think that more likely they'll pick up a quarterback, and maybe I think they have two fourth rounders, and they have a second and a third. I could see them using their third or one of their fourths on a QB. Just bring someone in to compete. You know, see if they can find another diamond in the rough. Not like you're gonna find another Brady, but
No,
you know, you're not gonna find another Brady even at the top of the room.
ever.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, so I think their top need is more defensive, probably D line pass rusher. I mean the safety maybe. They certainly got the cornerbacks now, but
Yeah.
just depth.
Yeah, safety. Yep, safety, D line.
Yeah.
Whatever's the best available. I agree 100% with you on this draft situation. Tight end, safety, D line.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
I don't think they'd pick up wide receivers. I think they're
Mm.
they're good on that. They have those young guys, Dobson and stuff, that I think are getting better. Running back, I think they're happy with Shane
Yeah.
and everything. So yeah, I think
They got some stickum for Ridley's hands in the offseason, I heard. So.
that's
We
boy.
down on him last year.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, he's up and down. I mean, he's such a magical player in some ways, but then yeah, you got to protect the ball, man. Can't put that on the ground.
That's like on the Bruins what Marchand did, like when he turned it over instead of dumped it in
Mm-hmm.
yesterday to lead to that second goal. Bergeron said it perfectly after the game. He said they asked him about that play. Bergeron said, "Well, Brad knows on the Bruins you don't do that in the neutral zone. You put it in deep. That's how the Bruins play. On the Patriots, similar. You don't put the ball on the field. You just don't. It leads to being benched. That's what happened to Ridley. Dude, what was it? I think it was the Denver game during the season when I think you texted me like you said Ridley's awesome, and all of a sudden he fumbled it like instantaneously after that text came through. Eddie, I think didn't he have multiple fumbles? Oh, that was the game where we couldn't hold on to the ball in the first half.
Yeah.
Denver couldn't hold on to the ball in the second half. We came back and won a stunning victory. So that's when we were really down on Ridley, and for a few games and all that stuff. So, but yeah, if he can hold on to the ball, like you were saying, he's an impact running back, and if he can just do that, we got Vereen, Ridley, and no more Blunt, but it's looking like we are trying to find someone of that type of running back, a pounding runner like Blunt. So
Yeah. By the way, the draft is Thursday.
Oh, like we were really close on that, or you had it closer.
Yeah, I
Thursday,
thought it was
May 11th,
I thought it was
May,
this week, and then you said like late May, and I started like, well, am I wrong? Like I was pretty sure it was this week. That's why I wanted to talk about the draft this week. It's because it is this week.
Good
So
call. Yeah, good call.
yeah,
I don't have any names that the Patriots could be looking at.
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
I have no
haven't been
idea.
following that stuff at all right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no idea. I mean, I do think that they're going to go defensive. Well, I guess I'd put most money on trading the 29th pick. Other than that, I think it will probably be like a defensive lineman or tight end. So one of those two.
Yep, agreed. We'll
So
see what happens. Patriots are going to be the expectation. I don't know the Vegas odds right now, Shawn, but after picking up Revis, I mean, my goodness, the Patriots are going to be, if not the favorite, one of the top three favorites to win it all this year. Just that move of picking up Revis. I mean, it's Belichick's first, since Ty Law, I think, Belichick's first great toy that he has to play with.
yeah,
But also brings some added pressure. Like if the secondary has been our Achilles heel on defense, or for the whole team really over the past several years, the secondary has just been so soft. Gives up these big plays when they're not giving up big plays to let them motor down the field. If they continue to do that with Revis, then Belichick's got to check himself.
Yeah.
Really.
Well, the other thing to talk about here, I think, in regards to the Patriots, is look, the window is getting a little shady. It's the sun.
It's not closing, but it's
Right. It's
they're looking at pulling the window. They got plans for closing the window. What I mean?
Because Brady's got a couple more years. Belichick's got a couple more years. There's a sense now. I mean, I am a believer in keeping the franchise the stability and building for the future.
Yes.
And I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, we just got to go for it all in, and we just keep building. And it's like we've been so competitive for 15 years now, and we've been in it almost every year in the last 15 years. That and like we were saying earlier about the flukiness, you have a one-game playoff type elimination system. A lot of fluky things can happen. It can get you lucky, Giants, or you can have bad luck at times, or you just and that can make all the difference. And so the key is to get there every year, because if you're there every year and you're competitive every year, then over time you'll get lucky and things will bounce your way, and that's what it takes, I think,
Right.
for an NFL championship. And so I think that's the way you got to go. At the same time, I think recognizing that the window is starting to close here is that I wouldn't mind moving a few more chips into play, and
Agreed.
going for it, because both those guys are that window, like we said, it's not quite closing yet, but it's starting to, and you need to think about that, and not necessarily going all in and screwing
No,
up the
but go
cap or
for it.
anything, but what?
Yeah, find a good balance, I think, between building to the future and getting some chips to try to win it all next year, within the next
Yeah.
2-3 years as well. Doesn't have to be, it's a spectrum. Doesn't have to be all about the future. It doesn't have to be all in for now.
Right.
Let's, if they had a little sliding scale, let's move that piece a little bit closer towards all in. Not all in, but I think it's what you're saying too.
So the Pats are 15-2 for the Super Bowl, behind
Oh yeah.
Seattle and Denver. Seattle 6-1, Denver 7-1. New England and San Francisco are 15-2. Green Bay is
There you
12-1. So those are the favorites, and those are all very reasonable. Obviously, I'd probably not have the Broncos that much. Well, I guess,
I wouldn't.
yeah. But I think that's just the Peyton Manning bias in us and in Vegas, right? So they're going to overvalue Peyton Manning, and we undervalue him because we just think he's a hick. So.
Well, yeah, he is totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's awesome. I mean, he's not his brother. Eli is a fraud, but Peyton
He's not
and
a great quarterback.
no, Peyton is awesome. I mean, he's an incredible quarterback. I don't want to take anything away from him, but I'd always take Brady every day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Twice on Sunday.
yeah. So, anything else in the Pats?
Well, the schedule looks like it's pretty doable. There's a stretch there, middle of the season, where we go up against 3 straight tough quarterbacks: Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah,
Phil Rivers, I think Peyton Manning too. But all in all, the schedule looks fairly easy.
well, let's break down.
But that can change. After a couple of weeks, 3-4 weeks into the season, the schedule suddenly go a hell of a lot harder.
Right.
But
Let's
looking
talk.
at it now, I think we have a good road to the playoffs.
And maybe next week, in next week's podcast, we'll break down the schedule a little bit more. Take a look at it week by week, and
Cool.
take a look at that. Also talk about some of their draft moves.
Cool.
So
Yeah, we'll have the draft under our belt. Yeah.
all right. So Celtics, nothing to say there.
Whatever.
Yeah, Revolution.
Revs.
The Revs. There, I looked them up. This is kind of sad because I didn't even know this, but they're actually top of the table in the Eastern Conference.
Excellent.
Yeah, and coming up is they're playing the Seattle Sounders with the U.S. national team star Clint Dempsey coming into town. So
Oh, shit, that's something to watch for.
that'd be a good test of the Revs. I'd like to be exciting to see them come back. I mean, I know in the early part of the century here, they were a dominant team. They didn't quite win the championship, but they were dominant.
4 times in the final game, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, they were dominant that way. So I'd like to see them come back to that. So it's exciting to see that they're one of the more competitive teams now in the East. So, but don't get a chance to watch them too often. But
No, me neither.
the soccer.
How far into the season are they right now? How deep into the season?
The season just started a couple weeks ago,
Okay.
so it's pretty early still. So I don't
Cool.
want to put too much into them being the top, but still better than not, and they're competitive. The other soccer team that's sort of the honorary Boston soccer team is Liverpool.
Yeah, they're in the top spot, right, or tied for the top spot in their table.
Yep, they're tied. They're almost assuredly going to finish in the top 3. They can win the league, but they can win it they need some help. They got a little bit of help today because Chelsea tied with Norwich. So Norwich City.
Norwich is really low. They're not very good.
No, no, they're I think they're one of the teams trying to stave off relegation. And so we got
great.
So we got some help there with Chelsea not getting 3 points there. But Man City is the one that's probably going to win instead of us. It's really coming down to them. And Liverpool's they play Crystal Palace tomorrow and then Newcastle. So those are both very winnable games. We should be able to get.
Who do they play tomorrow?
Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace, and they're not one of the top teams. Right?
No, but they're sort of they play really well against the top teams, and they beat Chelsea. So they're not a rollover, but Liverpool should beat them, and they should beat Newcastle as well. So they should get those 6 points. But if Manchester City wins out, then Manchester City's going to win on goal differentials. So we need a little bit of help there. Man City's going to have to drop one.
Oh, so that's what GD stands for when you look at the table. Goal differential.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Learning my football, Shawn. Learning it.
Yeah, I know. I was excited. You said you were watching the Man U game against Sunderland.
Man U lost to Sunderland. That was interesting. And I looked at Sunderland's ranking in the table. They're way near the bottom.
Yeah.
And I think you educated me yesterday. By winning that game, they staved off, or at least temporarily staved off relegation.
Yeah, quite possibly. Let me look.
The bottom 3 teams in the table
get
relegated?
Yeah, so right now that's Norwich, Fulham, and Cardiff are in the relegation zone. Sunderland is right there. West Brom and Hull City are also pretty close. The bottom 3 get relegated, which is just awesome. I just think it makes it.
Yeah, that is a cool element of the game.
I'd love to see them. I can't ever see that happening in pro sports. I actually think it would be a cool system for college sports, but.
Yeah, that fits much more better. Much
more better. There you go.
1A, 1AA, or
So.
They've already got the built-in stratification of the rankings there. Yeah.
Right. All right. Anything else? Anything else going on Boston sports wise? I think that's it, right? I mean.
Yeah, no, we covered it good, man. I mean, it's all about the Bruins and the Red Sox right now. The Bruins taking top priority in my life.
Absolutely. Beast.
Just psyched for the rest of the series with the Canadians. So.
All right.
Be fun.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be fun. It's going to take a couple years off my life, but boy, I wouldn't have it any other way.
All right. Well, next week, hopefully, we'll be talking about going into the conference finals.
Bring it on, baby.
All right.
All right, Shawn. It's been fun talking to you, my friend.
All right. Till next time.
All right, bud. See you later.